Hey there, y'all. Album of the week is back. Yeah, I've only done probably 2 or 3 of these, but hey, the goal is to do one once a week. Still working towards that goal, but it will happen here sooner or later. But anyway, album of the week is back this week, and this week's album is Motivik's second album, Renouncement. If you were one of the first 20 or so buyers, I guess, of the album, this came out back on July 1st. You could get this package deal that included the vinyl, 2 CDs, and this cool little button. We'll take a look at all of that as well as a full review of the album itself. Coming right up. Stay where you are. This is a good one. Hey there, y'all. Tim Risto here. Welcome back to another Tim Talks Christian Rock. Hope you're having a great day today, and may God bless your day. Today, it's another album of the week. Like I said, I'm getting back to them. I'll try and get them out weekly as much as possible. It's a goal I'm working towards. We'll get there. But we've got an album of the week this week, and it is Motivik's sophomore album, Renouncement. Motivik, the great thrash, heavy metal, hard rock band, has released one album before this, and this is their follow-up album several years later. And what can I say? This one is really good. It's aggressive sounding, it's hard, but it's also got a surprisingly melodic tone to it, and I love it. To me, it builds upon and improves upon their first album, Death of the Gunman, in a number of ways. If you're a fan of the first album, I suspect you'll really love this one. This one, to me, could really be an album of the year, quite frankly. Here we are in, what are we? August, almost September of 2024. This one still stands out for me as one of the best hard rock heavy metal albums of the year in the Christian rock, or any rock genre for that matter. I love this one a lot. So first of all, let's take a quick look at the package I mentioned at the top. If you were one of the first 20 or 25 purchasers, buyers, what have you, customers over on Roxx Records site, which is who put this album out, you could get this package deal, like I mentioned, where you get the vinyl, 2 CDs, basically a CD of the album and a CD of demos, and this cool little button of the album art at a very, very reasonable price. So I was lucky enough to catch that when that first went up and was able to snag a copy of that package deal. I think they only had, I don't remember, it was a limited number. And maybe I'm thinking they only had 20 or 25 copies, or maybe it was 50, something like that. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But it was a very small amount of copies to get that package deal. You can still get each of those elements, except the button, I think, separately. So if you want to get the vinyl and each of those CDs, you can buy them separately. Probably cost a little bit more than the package deal did. But anyway, it's very cool. Here's a little closer look at the button itself. Again, just a replication of the cover art in button form. It's small, but it's kind of cool. We'll scope out each of the CDs and the vinyl real quick before we talk about the album itself in detail. Here's the CD, again from Roxx Records. Love the album art, by the way. There's the CD and the tray art there. Booklet, which has a few photos of the guys, credits, and lyrics, of course. Which the lyrics on this, I'm going to tell you right now, are really very cool, introspective, and just well written. Track listing on the back. Never show the spine. I don't know if anybody really cares, but there's the spine. Here's the bonus CD that came along with the package. It's called Motivik, The Unorthodox Years, 1993 to 1998. And as you can see on the back here, it's got 5 tracks on it. It's basically some demo tracks that they kind of I don't know if they re-recorded them or just kind of polished them up a little bit in mixing and editing. And they'd released them, I think, online over the course of some period of time. So they basically just polished them up and released them on this CD, which I think is really, really pretty cool. In fact, one of the songs on here, Septicemia, the demos here, made it onto this new album as well too. And I like both versions, but I'm not sure which one has grown on me the most. Perhaps the Renouncement album version, but I don't know. I do like the cover art. All of Motivik's cover art for all three of their albums, including this demo here, are just really good. The first two albums and this demo just have really cool artwork. I hope that's a trend they continue future releases. Got the disc here and then some cool photos. And inside the tray, it's neat, they've got both of their albums, the cover art there. Cool little demo. I won't talk much more about it, but this is a nice little feature. I think you can get it for about $10 through Roxx Records. Well worth picking up. It's only 5 tracks, but it's good stuff. All right, let's get on to the vinyl edition and start talking about the album, the music, and the themes herein. First of all, let's start the album cover here. Motivik, that logo. Love their logo. Keep using that, guys. They've used it on every album, including the demo to date, and it's just a fantastic logo. Love the style and look of that. But I love this album art. As I've said with all their album covers, they just have such great album artwork. They take time to really have well-designed album art that ties in well to the themes of the album, the spiritual themes of the album. This one, of course, the title is Renouncement, and that has a number of different meanings. Primarily, it plays into this theme of, renounce means to condemn, right, or deny. Condemn's probably a better word. But to renounce our sinful ways, right? To renounce our pride, to renounce making ourselves a god, to renounce Satan and the ways of the world, right? So there's that whole meaning that is written in and threaded throughout the songs and themes on this album. But then there's also kind of another play on it, which is Satan wanting us to renounce God, right? And all the tricks and sinful ways he uses to try and get us to renounce God and make ourselves God, right? And make him God. So there's all that going on too. It's really very cool. When I first saw this album art and glanced at it, I was like, is that supposed to be God sitting on the throne, in front of heaven? There's a crown there in his lap, but you look a little deeper, you go, well, no, that can't be right. I mean, he looks old, twisted, mean, angry, in this cold blue lighting. Maybe he's supposed to be Satan, and this is more the gates of hell behind him, or something to that effect. Which certainly is a possible interpretation of it. But as you listen to the album itself, you really come away with more so, that's us, that's the old man, the old sinful nature who need to put to death. I make myself a god or a king, and it's that old sinful nature. So again, a lot of potential interpretation here that really ties into the themes in the album. It's really very, very cool. Love the album art and the way it ties into these spiritual themes. Very cool. Here's the back real quick. There's that photo of the guys in the band, and there are 13 tracks. 7 tracks on side A, 6 on side B. Very, very good music. We'll get to that more in just a minute. Here's the insert sheet. Comes with the vinyl. First side has a couple band photos there, some credits, and some thanks, which I'm going to note something on there in a minute here. Lyrics there, the lyrics on this side. This ties in well to what we're talking about here with the spiritual themes of this album and the dedication that these guys have for creating Christian rock that, doesn't just entertain or, isn't just for the music, but is for the ministry and for the opportunity to challenge listeners too. So let me read this really quick. This is a note from both the band guys. You got Courtney Simmons, who's the vocals and background vocals, and you got Ryan Roebuck, who's vocals, background vocals, lead and rhythm guitars, bass, and piano and organ. So these two guys make up Motivik. And here it says, note from us. As teens in the early to mid-90s, we grew up on bands like Tourniquet, Deliverance, Vengeance, The Crucified, Applehead, Betrayal, Sacrament, Bride, Mortification, Believer, and many, many more. Our spiritual journey was inspired and undergirded by the lyrical content of these bands and the spiritual encouragement that they gave to us through their songs and passions. We would have never believed that 30 years later we would have the opportunity to come alongside them and be that band for someone else. We do not take this lightly. I love that. We know that we live in a day where spiritual deconstruction is leaving mass casualties on our side. However, our God still reigns supreme, and his people still need that daily encouragement that music can bring. May this record be that for you. Phenomenal. Please read the lyrics, sit with the songs, and share them with others. We have prayed and will continue to pray that God would use this work in the life of his church to be an encouragement to his children. Amen. Love that. That, for me, is the heart of why I love Christian rock. Good music, yes, without a doubt, but also lyrics and band members behind it all that are striving to do something that will challenge us as believers in our Christian faith walk. Phenomenal. This is what I love about Christian rock at its heart and core, and what I love about creatives coming together to produce things that have meaningful impact in our lives as Christians. Great, great stuff. And here's the vinyl itself in this black polyurethane sleeve, and the vinyl itself in this orange and black splatter vinyl. Side A there has the label with the album art on it. Side B has the Roxx Records logo on it. Okay, so let's finally talk music. It may seem odd waiting to the end of an album review to really talk about the music of an album, but to me there's just so many good things about this album, and in particular I wanted to hit, as I did earlier, about the spiritual themes and content of this first, as well as looking at just the physical media. But this is not to suggest that the music is unimportant or should take a backseat or isn't good. The music is very good on this album. It is a great album. It's thrash styling, thrash leanings, thrash music throughout, but even more so, it's really got a progressive metal bent to it. It goes back and forth between the two, blends them well, and the thrash elements that are here are definitely an improvement upon the ones from their first album, Death of the Gunman. What do I mean by an improvement? Well, for me, I think I even said this in another video talking about Death of the Gunman. The thrash elements were a little bit of a stretch for me in my comfort zone in terms of being, a little too maybe incoherent in the lyrics or a little too harsh and rapid fire, where this one kind of smooths them out a little bit more, paces things a little bit better. I can understand and hear everything really well, which for my comfort level is much better. And also I think for the great lyrical content of this album, it's great to be able to hear them and process them better. So the thrash elements here work for me really well. And then the progressive metal elements here are just right up my alley. I love that style and that leaning of the album that they have moved into here. This is just a natural progression from Death of the Gunman, and also a maturing in their music as well. Simmons and Roebuck make for a really good team as a band, but they also bring in lots of additional artists to kind of help supplement the band. They've got a session drummer, they've got some guest vocalists, and some other instrumentation that really adds to the depth of this album as well too. So I like that they've kind of filled things out with a good host of guest artists as well. The album really goes between kind of more middle-paced tracks and then some of the faster thrash leanings of the music. But it balances them all pretty well, works and flows really well between them. I like how it can go sometimes from like opening of Septicemia with more of this acoustic guitar intro, and then can go into more, deeper, harder edge type music, and can go back and forth throughout the song. There's some interesting instrumentation throughout the album too. I won't go through track by track and list everything, but there's an organ at some point. Of course, there's a lot of great drum work as well, and guitars. But there is some variety throughout, and not just instrumentation, but also in the pacing, a willingness to go between, really fast thrash elements and more moodier progressive metal type styles, leanings, and mood. And I love that. I think that's really, really good. In fact, it starts out with a great instrumental track. One is this Palace of Ashes, just under 2-minute instrumental track, a nice lead in for the album, and also a nice lead into track 2, Dethroned, and the themes there, because Palace of Ashes really is kind of the result, you could say, of being dethroned in our lives, and we're left sitting in the ashes of our own pride and sin and things like that. So they work really well together. Renouncement track 3 is a Betrayal cover, and I think even the vocalist from Betrayal does a guest bit on part of that track. So that's kind of neat. I like this version better than the Betrayal version. I think this one just is really, really good. So I think it's a great improvement upon the original track, but it's a nice nod to have the Chris Ackerman, I think it is, as a guest vocalist for that track. You've got Break the Walls, followed by Septicemia, about blood poisoning and about the healing power of Christ's redemptive power of Christ's blood, shedding his blood for our sins. Then track 6 is This Man I Am, really a recognition of what that cover art is all about, right? Putting the old man, the sinful nature, to death. So nice tie-in with themes there. Then the ending of side 1 on the vinyl is Harbinger of Demise. Very cool track too. And then the 6 tracks on side 2, Final Hour, Lord of Death, The Storm Within, The Head Collector, Dead by Daylight, once again, all just really good tracks. I just can't say enough about this album. I don't want to get into too much detail, too many elements of each of the songs. They're just so good. I think it's an album you really have to experience. And again, I read that paragraph from the band members, from the liner notes, because it's just so true. This is an album you have to experience. You have to sit with it, listen to the music, read through those lyrics as you're listening to it, study that album art, and kind of contemplate the nature of this work that they've created. It's just really good. And to say too much about it then begins to reveal too many things that I think you can discover on your own listening to this album. But all I can say is, for me, it's definitely probably an album of the year, certainly one of the top contenders, if not the top contender. And it's just a well-produced work of Christian thrash and progressive metal. Do yourself a favor. Go out and get this album. Sit down as they suggest with it. Put some headphones on. Get that lyric sheet in front of you. Look at that album cover art. And just enjoy and absorb this album. It's just a great work of music and a great work of Christian writing in terms of its lyrical content as well as its musical content. I'm a fan. What more can I say? Again, I could go off on all sorts of tangents. I can get into great depth about it, but this is just an album I feel like I'm trying to hold back from saying too much, because it is one you need to just kind of go out and experience. So, highly recommend this album, without a doubt. Just as a closer and capper here, I discovered Motivik through their first album, of course, which I bought on vinyl, Death of the Gunman, and again, very cool Western vibed cover art, as is the music on this album. So it's worth mentioning their initial release, because it really is a great album as well. Insert sheet on that one with Ryan Roebuck there and the lyrics. It's Courtney Simmons pictured there. I kind of like these pictures of them a lot too. Lyrics and liner notes there. This was also a really nice vinyl release. Not a colored one here, just a nice black vinyl. I don't know if they had a color album, but I bought the black one. I don't think they did. I think this was a very limited vinyl release, if I recall correctly, like 85 copies or something like that. But one of the cool things, kind of like with Renouncement, where they had a button, a little extra, here on the first vinyl album, they had a limited number of these lithographs autographed by the guys in the band, including a Bible verse listed there too. So a neat little feature. I'd love to get this framed. All right, y'all, that's all I got for today in this look at Motivik's sophomore album, Renouncement, in my album of the week. It's really very, very good stuff. What do you think of it? Have you all gotten the album already? And if so, what do you think? What do you think of the band Motivik? What do you think of their last album, Death of the Gunman? I'm a big fan, and this is certainly one of my most favorite newer Christian rock bands. You know, I'm big on a lot of retro Christian rock bands, whether it's Resurrection Band, Petra, Prodigal, etc., etc. But this is one that's really captured my interest, and I was so looking forward to this album, and I really am enjoying listening to it now quite often. So Motivik continues to be a band to watch, and I can't wait for every future release that they have, because they are a very good band, not just musically, but spiritually and lyrically as well. So anyway, what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Go out and listen to some great Christian rock today. Make it some Motivik. And above all else, stay in God's Word. That's it, y'all. Have a great one. See you next time. Bye-bye.